was worried about you.
Were you?
Yeah, I was like, what is this?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But
Leave
I'm
right
gonna come.
now.
I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna show out.
Okay. Like, yeah.
And I know you're gonna do the same.
You know,
Connect with someone.
at the corner day. Did you read the book?
Which book?
Read the book, The Artist Way? The Artist Way?
I'm gonna follow your lead.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna have some work to do now.
Yes, Lord.
Take you through there.
What my branding should look like, as well as.
Oh, I see. Okay, let's do that. Boom. Yeah.
Okay. You there? Are you there? Are you woke? Are you there?
Oh, you got your horn back? Oh, wait a minute. What happened to the horn?
You didn't hear the horn? You want me to blow the horn?
Listen, the horn sound like the winter storm is affecting it.
It might be. You just gonna blow it anyway.
All right then. I'm enthused to that. I'm enthused. That's very enthusiastic there. Blow it anyway.
You want me to blow it anyway? I'm gonna blow it anyway. You know, no shame in my game. Okay, so we may have some difficulty tonight, but we gonna ride on through, okay? Ride on through that. We can feel that. So, hi. So we are going to kick off tonight with Tap In with myself, Nikki Styles Baker, and Rich Milholm, my friend, my partner. But I'm very happy to be here tonight, and he's going to ride with me as we talk about The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And just as normally, this is not a book club. It's not a book discussion. It's about personal improvement and growth. And this is a book that I selected because I believe it's quite helpful for people who don't consider themselves artists. But the helpfulness. So tonight I want to talk about what an artist is, why many of us kind of deviate from it, and how the work that's done with this book, and I'll be doing the workshop starting February 14th, how it can be helpful to a business person or just an everyday person, of those things where we have blocks of dissatisfied in our life often come from criticisms that other people have placed on us, and sometimes just negative feelings, negative core beliefs that we have for ourselves. So I know that you're going to be working with me tonight, Rich. So I just wanted to open up and ask you a couple of questions since we're talking about the artist's way, and it is the artist's approach to life. What do you consider yourself an artist, or what is an artist to you?
Very good question. Do I consider myself an artist? Yes, I do.
Okay.
And following the precepts of the books, I would say that an artist is by nature, in and of itself, a creator. And they take what is in the imagination, or what is also known as the ethers, and they take it from that realm and put it into this third dimension that we're in, that we call earth, mass, solid, whatever you want to give the name to, but we bring it into fruition here in the present. And you can do it by sculpture, by words, by music, anything that you do that has a creative affixure to that you can affix a concept from your brain, or from your mind, rather. I should use the term mind, which would be better, closer to the truth, and bring it into reality. That's what I
Hmm.
call an artist, and that's also what I call a creative.
Okay. Well, one thing Julia Cameron talks about in the book, and it was an experience I had. Sometimes for me, I didn't know I was an artist, and I think a lot of people have artistic interests, artistic. They might say I'm a patron of the arts, but I'm not an artist. And she talks about a lot of times again, some families, art is considered something you do as a luxury most of the times, right? You don't have time to be an artist if you need to go out and work. You may not have the luxury of being an artist. And so we're going to talk about luxury, how we could incorporate luxury in our lives today. Most of the time we think of luxury, we think of big, big money. But there are luxuries that we can enjoy that make the things we do daily worth it. And through art, is some of that. And she says the artist child in us needs to play. And so many of us, especially with the stressors that increase as we get older, we just stop playing. Now, I know you like to play. And like but tell me, do
Did you
you
say
find,
we? Did you say we?
well, we do like to play, but do
Okay,
you
okay, okay.
find
I
that
just want to make sure you said we.
do you really find that most adults, they don't know how to play? They don't know, they don't have any escape, they don't have anything that they do for themselves that make them happy. They're so busy serving their family, their jobs, this kind of thing. But how do you see that? Do you see a lot of people playful, or as playful as you think? I'm setting you up with this question, but tell me what you
Yeah,
think.
you're setting me up, and I like the way you're setting it up because I know it sounds dangerous, but you're basically walking right into my cave. I love what you're saying right now because I think a couple of things you've said I would like to note and ask for you to give me a little bit more clarity. One of the things is I think a lot of things that we deem are artists or what is considered a the work of an artist, we neglect the things that are artistry. As for example, somebody who's an amazing mechanic. My father was an amazing mechanic. He could listen to your car and tell you what's wrong with your car. To me, that's an artist because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody could do that thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's something that has to do with your connection to whatever you're trying to create, whether it's already established on this plane or you're going to bring it into existence, like art, all of that can be considered an artist. Now, going to the second part of your question, I think as far as adults are concerned, the problem is not that they're not fun or they don't remember. I think the problem is that we have been fooled with the concept of being adult means you have to be forever serious,
Mm-hmm.
forever worried, forever concerned about your next piece of bread and how you're going to live, when in reality it's antithesis of being an artist. Because with an artist, if you really follow that trend and if you're willing to take the scary road of being an artist, you won't ever have to worry about bills and food and what you're going to do next because your talents will lead you to where you need to be, where you can serve at the highest level and be successful. But that's not
Mm-hmm.
how we're groomed. Let me take that back. The word's not groomed. We are trained to become robots in a system that grinds us up and kills off our creativity, which then eliminates our ability to be an artist. That's what I think.
Well, I had a picture in my head when you were saying like your dad being a mechanic. I'm thinking, I thought about a person who's a baker, not me baker, but
Hmm.
a baker, right? But
Yes.
there's many jobs that there's art jobs. Like I'm a graphic artist, but all jobs don't bring personal satisfaction. All jobs you don't, and all jobs don't incorporate a sense of play or joy. So I put in the chat. We have a few people watching us. I'll shout you out in a moment. But if you're watching, you want to put your name in the chat or where you're watching from, I'll give you a shout out momentarily. But I was thinking, what makes it art is and parallels of what she was saying, that we create and we co-create with God, right?
Yes.
And from the creation is extracted a sense of personal satisfaction, joy, peace, or even purpose. So we don't always get that out of our job. But if there's something that you do, let's say, if this is being a mechanic, now you've made being a mechanic an art. You've incorporated a higher sense of spirituality into this thing that you do practice every day. and it may be your job. However, from it, you can tell when that person has, or we say passion for it, they seem to beam with light because they are getting a personal satisfaction, even if it's just saying to the person, here, your car is working now, or here's your wedding cake, knowing that they made something special with their hands for this person's memorable day of, wedding, matrimony. And so I want to start getting into us talking about, are we getting that personal sense of satisfaction or peace? Sometimes art makes a statement, sometimes not about positive things, not always happy statements, but that artists having achieved that message can still sense a satisfaction that they've gotten across and share this message with other people. So even sometimes art is asking us to question things that we believe. So I wanted to go from there because a lot of times young people might say, well, I'm not an artist, I just like art. But I think if we can teach them, it would have been nice if we were taught that you decide if you're the artist, and that's based on, have you learned how to glean that joy, that satisfaction from the practice that you do? So like that, can you be a content creator and be an artist? That would be a new art, I suppose.
Of course. I think that if you just watch enough content, you'll see that there are some people that are doing it for ulterior motives by the way they address their audience and the way that they present their information. And then there are some people, like in any endeavor that you get involved with, that you can tell the way they present it, that this is something that they were meant to do and that they love. And through the love of what they're accomplishing at that point as a content creator, you can see the artistry in it. That is why you have thousands of people are like, for instance, in the music industry, you have thousands of people that think they're singers, but you only had one Whitney Houston.
Right. And some people just do it extraordinarily well. You can't dispute how well they do it. So, and so that we fall in love with those artists, right? Because they speak for us, they live for us. Like Michael Jackson, he wasn't physically the sexiest guy alive, but the enthusiasm that he brought to the stage, it didn't matter race, age, he brought everybody to life. And so we are, and she talks about a lot of us, we have to nurture that inner child to do bad art. So a lot of us goes, well, I'm not good at drawing, so I won't do it. Or I'm not good at writing, so I don't like to do it. Or I can't even spell, so I won't. She says we have to be willing to do bad art to get to where we want, because a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to those great artists that we're talking about, those extra passionate people. Those people have been doing it for years and they're doing it great, but they didn't start off that way either. So sometimes we're negatively comparing ourselves to unrealistic outputs. And so instead, she says we should focus on that.
Nikki, you're going in a space. You're going in a direction that I'm glad that you're taking the conversation, because I don't necessarily agree with that concept of bad art. I've heard this term on many shows that I've been involved with, and I think a lot of times the bad art is in the eye of the beholder. When we're talking about the artist's way, my impression is we're talking about the people who are making those first steps going towards in that direction, and each quote unquote piece of bad art is leading them to the next level of them being great. But if they looked at themselves and say, wow, this is bad art, that is what that kind of like traps them into the, I'm going to be a robot and just build widgets because my quote unquote art is bad. And I think that's one of the things that hold the adults from truly meeting the spiritual aspect of them being a creative for them to be successful in art. They kind of like kill their dreams because they're comparing themselves to other people that at this point they're not there yet, or they may never reach there. But what they're doing specifically might be absolutely mind-boggling if they would just give it a chance.
That's another really good point, because she was saying, some of us just believe like an artist has to be a drug addict, an artist has to be promiscuous. One thing we all generally, an artist is free. They're free to do what they want. So we might think If you're an artist, you're selfish. That means your children don't have what they need. If you're an artist, you can't take that much time and dedicate it to yourself and be paying attention to other people's needs. So I agree, there may be a certain sense, a level of selfishness that a person needs to be an
Yes.
artist, but it doesn't have to be all of those negative things. So for those that are watching, if you want to give me your name and put it in the chat, Rich and I today are talking about a book that I recommended, The Artist Way, as I will be doing a workshop with this. I'm starting February 14th, Valentine's Day, because I really want to focus on loving our inner child, our inner self, so that it'll motivate us to move forward in our businesses, in our lives, and just in having that personal sense of satisfaction. And so she talks about we've all had censor. So I have some questions for you. And if anybody's watching, you can put your answers in the chat. So these are some of the things that really help measure, like, what's going on in your life. What are the things that we've told ourselves that sometimes block us, or maybe some things that other people have done. So these are some, if you were crazier questions. Right? So if an artist is crazy, I want to see if you were crazier, some of these things you might do. So I can't read the actual questions because they're copyrighted, but these are very similar, just thought-provoking questions. So if you want to put your answers in the chat, you can. But Rich, I'm going to ask you, if you were a little more irrational, what creative thing might happen for you?
If I was a little bit more irrational, what creative thing would I do?
What, maybe something you've been thinking about, but what could happen if you just were just a little bit more?
I would go back to being a DJ.
Okay, like that.
Yeah, I would go back to being a DJ.
Okay, I got a few more. If I trusted my creativity more than my fear, what would I begin right now?
If I would repeat that again, please.
If I trusted my creativity more than my fear, what would I begin right now?
DJing again.
Okay. If I stopped worrying about how this looks to others, I would choose to do what?
Wow, that's a great question. Now that's a great question. Repeat that again slowly for me, please.
Okay, I'm going to answer my answer. I would be a rapper.
Oh, do the first one. Do the first two that you didn't do.
Well, I'm just do that. I'm gonna come back to me. I just thought it was gonna be funny. If so, the question is, if I stop worrying about how it looks to others, I would choose to.
I can't think of anything that I'm worried about other people. That's a hard question for me. I would have to really sit down and ruminate over that, because I can't really think of anything that I'm worried about other people about. I don't really operate from that space.
Well, the questions are just designed to be free association. So, and to get us, like I said, again, put us in that child mindset. So they're not very serious. They're just meant to blurt something out. And we're gonna talk about.
Well, you answer it, and let me see where you go with it. Maybe that might trigger something.
I would be a rapper. I would be a rapper. I would start.
You'd be a rapper?
Yeah, I would start my rapping career. If I wasn't worried how other people would think of me, I would start rapping. I would get a whole outfit and everything, and I'll be on stage and I'll be writing songs, and I'll be like, I don't know, I have my own dance. I'll come out with my own dance, you know what I'm saying? That goes with the song. And yeah, I would do that. Okay, here's some more. If I believed I was allowed to want what I want, what would that be?
Want what I want. Want what I want. That's a good question.
You want me to come back to that one?
What would I want that I want? $1 billion.
Okay.
$1 trillion.
Okay, I like that. If I acted as though my creative dreams mattered, what would change in my life?
My friends.
Oh, I like that. If I stopped asking for permission, what would I give myself permission to do?
Kiss more girls.
Okay. If I assume creativity, where's my button at? Let me see this okay. It's taking a long time. If I
It's not taking a long time. We're doing good.
if I assume my creativity
Okay.
guided and supported, if I assume my creativity was guided and supported, what risk would I take? Like if there was nothing you can lose and you knew that everybody and everything around you supported it, what would you do? What would be the risk?
I would open a club.
That's a good one. I think I would move to another country, like Greece, and open a club. That's a good one. If failure were impossible, if failure were not possible,
I would open a nightclub.
what would I attempt?
Travel the world.
Travel the world. Okay, and here's my last question for you. And those of y'all that out there listening, try to answer this if you can. Put it in the chat, be one word, be a sentence, but just want you to think. If I honored joy, just being joyful, as a valid creative compass, where would it point me? If all that I was following right now was my joy, what like really would make you joyful? What area?
Okay,
what
you cut out. Say it again, please.
If I honored joy as a valid creative compass, where would it lead me? Where would I head? Where would you direct yourself to do?
I would serve more people.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. So we got Frank Taylor. Hey, Frank. Frank said, God's bless.
Hey, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Tonight we're talking about the artist's way and how it can be helpful in our lives. So I wanted to also share a few of the principles from the book. I'm not going to go through each one in detail, but just to help build the conversation. So the book points to these concepts that creativity is tell me true or not true. Creativity is a spiritual practice.
For me, yes, true.
Everyone is creative.
Yes, true.
We should seek progress over perfection.
Yes, true.
Okay, blocked creativity is a survival strategy.
False.
Okay. What do you think blocked creativity is?
You accepting the lie that your dark self is talking to you about.
Okay. She says that she believes that people block themselves as a protection. So again, when you're in survival mode, you don't have time to do, you don't have time to go pick the daisies and smell them. You got to get food. So we have as a part of us that shuts things down.
But that's not what I'm answering. I'm answering that if you
Okay, repeat that one more time. Ring my bell.
survival, I think even at the most fundamental point.
Hold on. I need you to repeat. Repeat. Rich. Repítame. Repita. Repeat.
What I'm saying too is that everybody thinks it's a survival thing. I don't think it's a survival thing. What I think it is that you're listening to the voice in your head that is telling you that you can't do something. And even at the minute level, by accepting that lie, it's not about dying or survival or anything. It's just the fact that you're willing to listen to yourself lie to you and accepting the lie.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about that. We're definitely going to talk more about that. Here's one. Small, consistent actions do matter.
Yes, true. Atomic habits.
Listening is more important than forcing.
Listening is more important than what?
Forcing things.
100% true, yes.
Okay. Then this goes to what I think you were saying just now. Critics are learned voices, not truth.
Ooh, that's good. Critics are learned voices that are not true. Yes, true.
True. I agree with that. Okay.
Me too.
Self-compassion fuels creative courage.
Self-compassion. I'm not sure I understand what that means.
So we were talking about like maybe people are fearful. It's like when you were more irrational, you would go do certain things. So when you have compassion for yourself or for the child in you that kind of wants to play, then you actually developing the fuel to be more courageous to try these risky things that are thought to be risky in creativity.
I hear what you're saying, and I can agree the way you framed it. Yes, I'm just going to go with you on that. Yes, I'm going to follow your lead and say yes. True.
Okay, we're almost done. Creativity thrives in safety and play. When you can be
Oh, true.
playing, you can be creative. Okay, and finally, faith is an action, not a feeling. Faith is faith in action or more of a feeling? It must be snowing down there in Miami, is it? It must be snowing.
Yeah.
Faith is an action, not a feeling. What do you think?
Connect with someone.
Rich,
Yes, I hear you.
did you hear my last question?
No, ma'am.
Is faith in action or a feeling?
If faith is faith in action or feeling? Both.
Okay. Okay. So the reason we're asking some of these questions is to really see where our doubt lies. So one of the things she recommends for us is to go back and break down your life, maybe like in 5-year increments, and think about where and when you met the ideas that stopped you from moving forward in these areas of having joy, having fun, being creative. And so that we can kind of go back and address it, knowing that there's some things that we have to do in our lives that really would be helpful if we had the courage to be ourselves, to be creative. So I was going to ask you, can you recall or do you want to share any sort of maybe a critic that you met in your life or something that shunned you from your interest in going further as an artist? Or it
Something
could
that
be
has shunned me from being an artist. Somewhere where somebody shunned me from being an artist.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. Um, when I was in high school, and what happened was they were having the elections for office for the class president and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And I was a sophomore in high school, and I wasn't interested in running. So everybody else was basically running and they were promising all this kind of stuff. And the children that were running or the students that were running, they were promising things that they could not deliver. And
Mm.
I knew they could not deliver, but they were making it sound great. And I didn't think I was like, nah. At the time I was an athlete, I was popular. I hung out with the nerds and the jocks, and I was a funny guy, so life was good for me. I didn't have like any problem. I had a group of dudes that I went to school in elementary, and we all came to the same high school together. So we were like our own little gang and everything. So life was good for me. But then a week before the actual elections, the lady who was running for class president, um, she said something very outrageous as far as what she was going to do, and it was a blatant lie. And so
Mm.
I talked to my friends, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to run.
What would
And they
she
were like,
say?
Rich, you're waiting till it's over with. Now you're going to run. There's only a couple of days left. I was like, I'm not going to buy no candy. I'm not going to give nobody no chocolates. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go up there and I'm going to run. And what happened was, with 2 days left, I had already basically was going to beat her, and I was going to
Mm.
beat her bad,
But how
right?
you know you're gonna beat her?
Because everybody was telling me they were going to vote for me.
Okay.
I was really that popular.
Okay.
Yeah, it was obvious I was going. And she cried and cried. She got me after school one day, and she just started crying, say how she needed it and everything like that. This was important and everything. And I was like, I was doing it just to make a point. Now I'm making this person cry. And that was back in the days when tears were really effective for on me. And I was like, okay, I'll just run for vice president. That way I could at least keep you under control, because what you said was a lie. And you can't tell people lies like that and saying that you're going to do this and this, you can. So when the time came, the day before I said I was going to do vice president, and I gave my speech. Everybody
Mm.
gave a speech and everything. And on my speech, I got a standing ovation and everything like that. I was the only one to get a standing ovation. And she won, and she lied.
Oh.
And by that time, I learned, because everybody was like, well, you could let her slide. I mean, all the people that talked on her side were like, well, Rich, you don't have to do this. You're already an athlete. You already play soccer. You're in the basketball team. You're on the varsity team. You're on track. You do this, just, and I bought into it.
Mm.
And I lost, and I won the vice president. She won the president, and it was till afterwards, because everybody had gotten they were explained by the guidance counselor how important this was. For me, it wasn't important. I didn't even know I was going to do. It was not a big deal to me. But after the elections, that's when the guidance counselor came to me and started explaining what happens when you can be the president of your class and stuff like. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me before? And
Mm.
she just kind of like shook her head and walked away from me. And I was like, okay, this is the way the game is played. Now I understand. So yeah, that was one of the things that I shun. I guess I would say I shun myself from an opportunity.
And
And
that kind
that
of come up in other areas of your life?
um I think that it pops up every now and then, but for the most part, I can tamp it down, because I always remember, well, what it does, it makes me give people more chances that I would normally give,
Mm.
because I don't want to be the hammer all the time. But sometimes, you have to be the hammer.
Wow. Yeah, I can relate with similar situation. I was in the art club as a little kid, and all of the kids in my class, we were auditioning to go to art school. So we went to visit the other schools. Norland had an art school there.
Mhm.
And we went to audition. They gave us two assignments while there. One was to draw a still life, and one was to just freestyle, draw what we wanted. And I didn't know what to expect when I went there. I think when we drew it, I drew some flowers. I didn't even feel inspired. I was so afraid. But the end result was none of the kids um, that I knew were accepted. And immediately,
Whoa.
what we didn't know. We never got notice back from the school that we weren't accepted.
Hmm.
Just never heard anything. So we'd asking our teacher, a week later, 2 weeks later, maybe even 3 weeks later, never any response. So that kind of heartbreak, because my mind, I was trying hard, and I just thought that we're not good enough. We're not
Hmm.
we're not artists, we're just kids from the hood, And so without that explanation, it was left to my childhood mind to assess what happened. And I could see where I immediately left art alone, moved on to other things, music. But I similarly did the same thing. Every time something didn't seem to go, and wasn't getting the validation from the outside world that you get the check mark, you're an artist. Then I go, okay, I like music, but I'm not a musician. I like art, but I'm not an artist. and I would then put more focus on other people who were. And even when I met you, we were doing Love Jones, which was, a live show, really trying to make a stage and publicize other artists. And so she has a name for that kind of person, which she calls a shadow artist. And
Okay.
that there's many people out here who are shadow artists. And this is why I really thought it would be relevant. It's like, why are we talking about art, Nikki? Because many business people are shadow artists, right? Like you said, maybe your dad, people who really have a passion for something, but they will never give themselves the credit nor go that extra mile to refine it, because it's easy to just say, I'm not an artist. I love art. I'm not a musician, but I love music. I'm not a painter, but I wish I could paint, in my spare time. And so again, what is the artist but a person that gets satisfaction from it? And so, like I said, my mistake maybe was waiting for other people to get satisfaction from it, right? From my work. So now, obviously I'm a little more mature. I do my art all the time. So I'm thankful that now I'm able to get that. But she even talks about a lot of artists, people who do identify as artists, they still have things like writer's block. So we're going to go more into that. But could you see anything about this shadow artist? Have you observed that in other people or maybe yourself?
Oh, I'm going to jump all over that. But before we get to B, I want to ask you one question in regards to the validation at
Mhm.
this part in your life, with all the accomplishments that you've had up to this point. Can you name me two of the things that you still have, you're a little reticent about because of this shadow self that forced you to remember as a child that you weren't accepted then, so now you feel that you still aren't being accepted now?
Um, I think I just kind of even like starting this whole social media direction, I kind of had to just tell myself, do it anyway, right? So, like I said, maybe be more irrational, like because she talks. I made some notes. We talk about fear. We start feeling like, well, what's going to happen? I'm going to be a failure. What's going to happen if what I'm doing is just garbage, right? What's going to happen if I go start rapping and somebody goes, "Girl, you can't rap to save your life." And so I've learned another strength that I have or asset that I have is I do have the ability to push beyond my fears and do things anyway. And so when I do that, I can feel the joy. And so I remember when we started doing these shows, I felt such a relief.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing, but it feels good not knowing
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing. So I think that's what she was saying is having compassion for the child in you gives you permission to fail, right? So how do you learn to be a great painter if you didn't fail a couple of times when you started? Who just took the paintbrush and started painting the Mona Lisa? You're gonna have to fail a few times. You think Hemingway wrote everything that was a bestseller? No, he wrote crap too, like everybody else. So if we have to give ourselves permission to make trash so that we can do great work and get the money and all those dreams that we dream of. But if we know we don't try, we can't get anything. So I would say, I don't know if I yet have found the way to remove those feelings of wanting someone to say, good job, or I like that, or that's amazing. However, I can say it's much more decreased. And like I said, when I do push beyond it, that's when I feel most creative. That's when I feel most alive. That's when I do feel most close to God. For me, that's when I'm glowing. That's when I'm glowing, and that's why I feel like God wants me to be. I really feel that that's aligned with my purpose. My purpose is to be an artist and to help facilitate other people to be artists and
Hit the
discover.
horn.
Oh,
Hit the
discover.
horn.
Okay, there's a horn. There it is. Wait, there is it.
That was big. That was big.
I mean, I think that's one of my friends told me that I was their muse. That made me feel really good because that wasn't a validation that I was seeking. However, it helped me realize that that's what I would like to be. I would like to be someone that opens other people up to their creativity. And I see so many people that are stuck, whether it's in work, whether it's in their family, they're stuck with one dimensional look at things that often develops into a lot of stress, anger, depression, and brokenness because there's only one way, and then sometimes that way gets blocked. So again, what I love about this is the artist way. The artist way finds a creative solution, right? So one of my favorite artists that I was able to do art talk about was Purvis Young, who was an artist from Miami, who much of his work was, he was homeless for a big part of his life. He was using a band, like garbage materials as his materials, like old boards with nails sticking out of them. There's one story about how I think the Miami Fire Department gave him a whole bunch of yellow paint that they used to paint the fire hydrants with.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of his paintings, you see that fire hydrant yellow. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for a lot of people, we might say, well, I don't have enough money to be an artist. I don't have the materials. But an artist finds another way, and the artist finds, well, look, you got paint, you got yellow paint, use that. You got coffee, you can paint with that, right? Or like those guys used to see in New York, you can't get a drum, you got a garbage can, you got a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if we applied those same kind of creative solutions to our everyday life and found joy in it, right? Because those boys on them garbage cans look like they having a ball, right? So
Yes.
imagine, like I said, like your dad, imagine if you can find that kind of joy being a mechanic or that just kind of self-satisfaction. So like I said, I found that with graphic design, and with graphic design, I struggled a long time to really consider it art. I was like, okay, well, what's a graphic artist? What's a graphic designer? But everybody who knows me knows, like, what are you doing? I'm working, right? I should start saying I'm doing my art, and
Mm-hmm.
I should stop
That's
answering.
right.
I
That's
should
right.
stop answering the phone because oftentimes people will call me while I'm doing my art, and they just take me into another area, which that's where I'm going to go next. She talks about crazy makers. But are you ever in your place of joy? Like if you're DJing, you're playing music, is there anything or people who can just knock you off? Like you're DJing, is there something that people can do that makes you just don't want to DJ?
Nope.
Nope. Are you in a
Nope.
zone? You go into
Once
the
I get in there, once I start playing music, you can't stop. Listen, I have literally started playing on a Friday. This is for myself. This is not out playing out at a club or nothing. For myself, and I've played for 4 days straight, going to sleep, waking up, hearing a mix in my head, practicing, playing it, creating sets, writing it down, and nonstop. And I've done the same thing with writing songs. Once I get into that music part, I've listen, I've bought more music than I've eaten. Like I'm starving and I go buy the latest Earth, Wind and Fire record or the latest, LL Cool J. And I've done that and not eaten for days because the music was so great.
yeah. Is that
Yeah,
and I
I'm
think that's
crazy
why
when it comes to that part.
a lot of
Yep.
people are afraid of the artist because for a lot of people who don't give themselves permission to lose it, um,
Yep.
and she says that maybe the real fear of art, like knowing that you don't have the answer is a very safe place, but giving yourself freedom and the uncertainty that comes with it is very scary because we're not taught that that's okay. So I wanted to go back to why I asked that question about the crazy makers. Now, same thing when I'm working, I go into a zone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just did it this week. I will work for 24, 48 hours straight. And I can hear the concern in people's voice, like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I'm not gonna die from it, right? And not be like I've been doing it so long, but this is a part of my process or my artist way. And my creative child likes this. But she talks about crazy makers. And so I got a little short definition of what the crazy maker is. And if you are watching, you can put your name in the chat and I'll give you a shout out. Let's hear what you think. But we're talking about creativity. We're talking about, are you an artist or not? What an artist is. And if it's important at all to people who might not think of themselves as an artist. But she says, crazy makers. Here we go. And you're supposed to identify 5 crazy makers in your life. These are people who drain your energy.
Ooh.
You all primed to do something, and you get a call from this person, and every time by the time you get done, everything you were about to do is off the table. Crazy makers. So crazy makers are those people that they may not be trying to do it intentionally, but they call you, they need help. But all it is that when you're done with them, you feel empty. They're like vampires. They're energy vampires. Do you know any of those kind of people?
I'm so glad. Oh, by the way, shouldn't we be talking about having the commercial for the Artist Way right now?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. So I'm gonna start the Artist Way February 14th. I was promising January, and it's coming. So we're gonna do it. I'm gonna start Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So I did ask anybody that's interested. You can just DM me, and hey, Miss Sandra, you can DM me. I think
Hey, Sandra.
I read some of this with Sandra before, and I bought people this book as a gift. Um,
Yep.
and I'm not gonna lie, I had some anxiety about doing it, and so I'm not trying to unsell myself, but I do want to say, it is about having fun. It is about your inner child having fun again. I know Sandra know that's important, and people forget how to have fun. So it's like almost taking having fun in your life seriously. And I think we're afraid to commit to ourselves. So I've been experiencing some anxiety coming up on doing this Artist Way because it requires a commitment to have fun. So there's only two real assignments that are required to be done. And one is what they call morning pages, which is a daily journal, but it's done in the mornings instead of the evenings. I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid of commitment anyway. So that's a problem. And I mean, and then the other is called an artist date, where you take yourself on a date once a week. And some people already do this, but
Amen.
what the problem with it is they often do it with their phone with them, right? And they're texting and they're telling people or like taking pictures. See what I'm doing? Fun with myself. You don't do it with your boyfriend, your spouse. You don't do it with a friend. You must do it alone. So going back to if creativity is something that you do with God, it's just you and God. And also she points out this is not about debating about different views of what God is, or even if God is not. So she uses the acronym that we talk about all the time, which is, what's the acronym for God that we talk about sometimes?
Good orderly direction.
Right. So she says there might be a safe space for people. So not to get into debating about the reality of God or not. However, understanding that being in that good orderly direction space, that's what most of us desire. That's almost synonymous with what we call joy. Right. And so, but we just can't seem to stay on good orderly direction, right? We start on good orderly direction and fall off. And she talked about that too. A lot of them, she talks about, I want to get to this. Your personal self-talk often is what's hurting us, and having affirmations. And I know you used to give me some affirmations back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra said her artist date was her favorite. I think Sandra take an artist date every day, really. Like, what you doing now, girl? I'm gone. I'm like, good for you. But I think that's what I really love about her is that she has the freedom. I mean, yes, she's still a responsible person. She's not out here crazy. She's not a crazy maker. And I think it's because she can take that time out for herself to do what she loves to do. Like, I can't wait. I've been trying to encourage her to do a van life podcast, but she's just enjoying for herself, doing what she's doing and being creative while doing it. Right. And she's great at decorating. She's great at organizing things. And I think that's a big part of her artistry. So I just wanted to see her do it more because, I'm that muse, like, do it more, do it further, farther, faster, do it, do it. So I wanted to ask you, though, about this negative self-talk. So she said we had critics, we had censors. Sometimes they were other people, could have been a parent who said, you need to get a real job, right? It could have been a friend that goes, you really think that's going to work if you do that? And something so subtle will cause us to go completely in the other direction and drop this thing that just the idea brought us so much joy. So she says sometimes we expose those fun ideas to people prematurely. or we should not expose them at all. And we should be very selective about who we expose our thoughts to as creative people, because other people's thoughts do have an impact on what we end up doing. And so just to know that that's the reality, to be thoughtful. So she said, yes, you should have advisors, but you should select them consciously, not just because they're close to you, right? So, you know, you might have a friend that's a cheerleader, somebody that no matter what you do, they are saying you can do it. I believe in you. You need help, support. Here's some money. What you need? You need materials. Here you go. You know someone like that. Well, that's the person you talk to when you need that kind of support. But that might not be the person you talk to when you want to talk about financial responsibility. Might not be the same person. So she says, identify, like you got the crazy makers, identify 5 people who are essentially your cheerleaders, but in different areas. There may be a person you talk to about relationships. There may be a person you talk to about money. There may be a person that's just completely moral support. They may not be the smartest person in the world. They may not be your information person, but they make you feel good, right? And then you might have the person who's just very wise, a librarian of sorts, right? That they're just a human information, or they have good insight and or blueprint person who know how to give you good direction. You might be the flowery artist that has these big ideas, and this friend might help you really put it in order. But that might not be the person that you want to talk to when you first have this bright idea, because they will talk you right out of it. So knowing you've identified the right people in your life and that you use them properly, because otherwise, if you misdiscuss with the wrong person, you're almost, again, you're throwing your pearls to swine. And the artist child in you is saying, now why you had to go tell her what we were thinking about doing? Oh, I know one I want to do. I want to build an adult clubhouse, like a tree house. That's one I would do if I was a little bit more irrational. I would take my resources right now and go build this tree house. I saw this Japanese home where the architect built this little tea house up in a tree. And I was like, oh, that looks so fun. Makes me so happy. So when we come back to this, so I was saying, so we have a lot of negative self-talk that we don't need to identify what it is, but where it comes from. She calls them blurts, right? So she says, she recommends doing affirmation. So telling yourself, I am prolific. I am a prolific DJ. I am a prolific graphic artist. I am a prolific van life curator, social media reviewer, whatever it is that you are doing. And she says, you're going to notice these blurts, these voices that jump out at you and say, really? You are? It's going to tell you that the thing you just told yourself that's positive, it's not accurate, and you're full of crap, right? So she was saying, do them anyway. Do the affirmations anyway. So what are your take on positive affirmation? Why is that funny?
Say again?
Why is that funny? Dre is with us. I know that Dre is a prolific artist. It's Cutter Man's brother. Could have been my brother-in-law if Cutter Man would have acted right, but you know, hey. He says he will help me design it. Okay. What do you think about affirmations? You think they help, or you think it's just kind of poppycock?
I think the jury's out on that. I think we know that affirmations work. It may not work the way they try to explain it in the scientific terms, but we know if we repeat a thought or if we say something enough times, that it will come to fruition, because whether it's a spiritual endeavor or whether it's the fact that our mind, body, and soul connects and creates whatever is the thing that we're repeating, we know if we say it enough times, it's going to happen. At least we know that part. We may not know why or how it happens, but we know it happens. So yeah, I'm a firm believer and a big proponent of affirmations.
Well, one of my favorite ones that we found recently from the greatest salesman in the world helps me just in the morning is, I will greet the day with love. I will greet this day with love. And so
in my heart.
In my heart.
I will greet this day with love in my heart.
And that helps me through the day. Oh, Cutter Man on here too. Good. Cutter Man shaking
All right,
me.
now, Cutter. Now we
Dre.
just need Suzanne. We just need Suzanne now to show up.
So I'm asking people, do you consider yourself an artist? Tell me in the chat. And do you give the artist child in you that self-care that reminds them, I'm here with you? Okay, like we talk about talking to your shadow. Do you talk to the child in you and give them permission to enjoy life? Right? Do you give them permission? I know Cutter Man just told me yesterday he got a whole studio in his house. I could come over there and be a rapper. What about that? I can go over there and record my next my first rap album. Okay. But so we're talking about, are you giving yourself permission to go? There is Suan. She is here.
All right, Suan. Wait.
Call her up. Oh my God.
Of course.
Oh,
but
we were
down.
talking about Suan
Now, I'm
and
so
Cutter
glad they came at the last minute, though.
Suan and Cutter was going at it about that Rihanna and that damn who they talking about? And ASAP Rocky.
ASAP and Cutter is right. I did some research. He on point.
Cutter is not right. Okay.
Listen, I did my research.
Okay.
He right.
Okay.
But wait a minute. Hold on. Now, why are they coming at the end of the show?
Because I sent the notice late today.
Oh, okay.
Yikes. Whatever. So, so I want you to finish the sentence, all of you out there. So since we're talking about positive affirmations and just seeing if these blurts come up, I want you to tell me, what are you prolific at? Say, I am prolific. I am a prolific, and finish it. I am a prolific graphic artist.
I'm a prolific songwriter.
Okay. Give me another one. I am a prolific speaker.
I am a prolific partner.
I am a prolific friend.
I am a prolific cheerleader.
I am a prolific rapper that you've never seen one like this before.
Oh, okay. I am a prolific confidant.
Okay. So let me see. So I want y'all to give me some answers. Tell me, Suan, y'all, I said we talked about content creators. Is that an art? Can that be considered an art? And then I guess we'll wrap up. We're talking about how is art, and Rich, I mentioned this earlier, how can this help people in other areas? How can it help people in other areas? How can thinking about their creativity? How do you think? Because I named some things earlier, but how would you say, if at all, that tapping into your own, allowing yourself to have fun in life, doing the things that the inner child wants to do, how can that help you in other parts of your life?
It opens up the clogs that you have, that you've allowed other people to taint you with. And once you can get that out of the way, then you start being more free in mind, body, and soul. And once you get to that point where it doesn't bother you what other people think, and you're back to the play state of, hey, I'm just looking for people to come to the playground and have a good time, then you don't have things like fear and worry and regret. All of those things disappear because guess what? You're back on the playground. Who's ever mad at the playground?
Not me. I even think it will help in relationships, because
of course
you don't have a lot of time to be concerned about even what your partner is thinking. You're so busy having fun. It's like, well, you can come have fun with me or not, but I'm going to enjoy this part of my life. Dre says he is prolific at teaching art. Yes.
Okay.
And what else? Yes, everybody. I know all of y'all heard me ask the question now. So what are you prolific at? So don't even be afraid to say it. So we talked about earlier with the late people that you want to give yourself permission to be wrong. Give yourself permission to make a mistake. If in your wildest dreams, you could give yourself permission to do whatever you want. If you didn't care what people thought, what would you do? What would you say?
Nikki,
Yes.
Why don't we do it another way? Because every time we say wrong and mistake, it creates a stigma in people's mind And I think the whole purpose of the artist way is for us to think of it in a different vein. And I think the term is more like just be willing to grow. Because if you growing, it's like a child who's learning to walk. Okay, the child falls down. Obviously, they don't know how to walk. We call it a mistake. No, we're saying they're growing. So mistakes are really just growth in disguise of your elevation to the next level of artistry. But
Well,
if you
I
keep
like.
saying mistake and wrong, I think people take it and make it negative, and then they get kind of like stuck where they are and they can't get out of it because nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody wants to make a
Right.
mistake, and
Well,
nobody wants to look
I think
stupid.
that's why she says it to really confront what it means. Because most people, the block is they're afraid of that thing that they don't want to say, and
Oh, I
so
see.
they don't want
I
to say
see.
it. So they never do anything about confronting that thing, right? Oh,
Okay.
I can't be a rapper because I'm too old. I can't be a rapper because I can't rhyme, because I have a bad memory. I can't be an actor because I can't remember the lines. I can't be a writer because I got an F one time. Marie Talley, hey Marie Talley, she says she is prolific at being me. She is. She is a wonderful human. Hey Marie.
Okay. All right then.
Thank you. Cudderman said he is prolific at debating. Where my horn at? You should
All right. All right.
Sandra say, she likes what you're saying, Rich, about no mistakes. And she is definitely a positive colleague like you. She's a very positive person. So I understand that.
All right, Sandra.
And however we need to get it, I agree. However you need to get it. Let's see who else. Cudderman says he's prolific at being a leader, right? ATP, anything's possible. Yes, he is. He is very motivating. And I've seen Cutter lead people to do very good things. That was part of the reason I was attracted to him. He was a good young man. I don't know what happened to him.
All righty. On that note, it looks like it's time for us to leave.
All right, you got a joke for us today?
I have no jokes for you. Well, do I? Yeah. What do you call four mariachis in a sinking boat?
What do you call four
Mariachi
in a sinking
players
boat?
in a sinking boat.
You lucky I know what a mariachi is.
Like I'm lucky. Okay.
Yeah. What do you call four mariachis in a sinking boat, not a singing boat?
Sinking.
What do you call four mariachis in a sinking boat? Sinking boat. What do you call four mariachis in a sinking boat?
Do you give up?
Yeah, what do you call it? Four mariachis in a sinking boat.
Cuatro cinco.
Cuatro cinco.
Cuatro cinco.
You should have did ocho cinco. Make it
No,
eight.
cuatro is four. Cinco, you're you know what?
In the water. I know.
Hey,
I got you.
leave the jokes to me. Leave the jokes to me.
Wait. That's another one of my dreams. If I was a little crazier, okay, I want them to put this as we go out. If you were just a little bit crazier, if you gave your inner child permission to just go a little further so you can have the joy. If you were just a little crazier, what would you do in your life right now? I'm going to add to what I would be a comedian.
So would I.
I would be the female Dave Chappelle.
I would be, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things I would do a crazy thing I would do now that I'm looking to do now.
Oh, we could take a field trip. We could all go do a comedy night.
I don't know if we all can do that, but yeah.
Yeah, we can do it. Oh, you were saying you don't want to get on the stage with me?
Oh, what?
Because it'll be comedy night.
Listen here, Lucille Ball.
Yes. To us and Richard needs jokes. I tell you. Yeah, I don't know where you get it from. Are you making these jokes up, or you purchased them from a joke?
No,
Uh,
I've memorized about
anime?
1,000 of those kind of jokes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I like to say, when these kind of jokes are great when you're at a bar and people are
Uh-huh.
drinking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it's so stupid. They laugh so hard.
I was gonna
It's
say
like you can't resist yourself.
person who wrote the joke must have been drinking.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know.
So anyway, they won't tell me, but
Anyway,
okay. My last question is,
how you gonna do a last question when we already did the final jokes?
no, I didn't. Okay, but that wait, because I had asked, I don't know, I asked it somewhere. If you were a little bit crazier, what would you do? You and I answered, but they were giving me all these answers online, and I was trying to see what they were saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Cutter said he's still living his. Wait, I'm living my little crazier life still. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, Rich, that's it for tonight. I am in Columbus, Georgia, where we will be having
Yay, Columbus.
a conference in March for all you business women and professionals that want to hang out and have lunch with us. It will be the 68th annual conference of the Southeast District of the National Association of Negro Business Professional Women's Clubs, an organization that I proudly am a part of. And you guys will hear more about it later. So I would say good night, sweethearts. Time to go.
Good night, family. Y'all be safe and get warm. Stay warm.
Yeah, they say it might snow up here tonight. I'm on the
Well,
Chattahoochee
I hope you brought
River.
your snow boots.
I'm gonna go outside and take some pictures of the snow. Suanne's got some snow up there. I'm probably do snow skiing on her social media. Snowboarding, actually. Snowboarding.
All right, Suzanne.
Suanne,
Live that life.
Definitely creative out there. Bye, bye, bye. Let me turn my music up. Y'all dance. Y'all gonna dance. Yeah, I'll be a DJ too. DJ rapper / actor /
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord. Don't stop me from living my best life. Robbery. Trying to stop me from living my best life. I'm trying to live to be all that I can be.
I'm sorry, man, but I'm a supporter, not a hater.
All right, I'll see y'all later. Let's go to cut it to Savannah. Let's cut it to Savannah. On down on the river.
Over the last 2 years.
Well, y'all enjoy yourselves.
All right, good night.
What my
Good night.
branding should look like, as
Where's
well
my bill?
as
All right, next week. Check me out for the Artist Way. All right. So, everybody came on late tonight.
That